Good afternoon or good evening. So first of all, I am Deputy Leela Freeze with the Orange County Sheriff's Office. I am here with some amazing ladies that are going to answer your questions and, try to enlighten you on some things that you may have some questions about. But first, I'm going to give you a little brief introduction. And so tonight, what we're doing, this is called a Women in Law Enforcement Forum. This is basically for our Women's History Month and the 30 by 30 initiative, which is geared towards increasing women in law enforcement by 30% by the year of 2030. Our recruiting unit wanted to give you ladies the opportunity to participate in question and answer sessions with several OCSO employees from diverse backgrounds. So without further ado, I'll first let you know restrooms. If you need to use the restroom, feel free to do so. If you have any questions, we have some people that are here that will help direct you to do that. And then we will actually go ahead and have our panelists introduce themselves, and we'll start on this side.
Let me stand.
Whatever you feel.
I'll sit. Hello, ladies. My name is Deputy Summer McCrae. I have been with the Sheriff's Office for a little over a year. I work in Sector 1. It is North Orange County. I came from a corrections background, so I started at the prison. I worked there for 2 years. Then I went to the jail, the Orange County Jail. I worked there for 4 years, and then I came over to law enforcement. So people like to say I took the long scenic route to get here, but I'm here, and so far it's been a great journey.
Hello, and thank you to those of you that are here with us in-house tonight and on Zoom. I am Captain Ashley Strange, and I command our Sector 1 Patrol Division. And I have been with the agency going on 17 years. I graduated from UCF, and I started here as a sponsorship recruit. And I am a wife and a mom of 3 children.
Oh, that was quick.
Good evening, everyone. Those that are in person and on Zoom. I am Chief Deputy Denise Demps, and I have been with the agency over 30 years. So I joined straight out of military deployment. So I joined at 21, and I've been here ever since. So I am responsible for the Administrative Service Bureau, which is responsible for most of the support that the agency receives, including our SROs and court services, communications, as well as records, fleet, training, IMS. So it's a very diverse group of personnel that I have the pleasure to work with here at the agency. I am originally from Orlando, Florida, attended school here, graduated from Evans Maynard High School, joined the Army Reserves. I'm still serving in the Army Reserves after 34 years. And truly love what I do every day. I am divorced with no kids, no pets, and no plants.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sarah Kerber. I am currently in the forensic unit here at the Orange County Sheriff's Office. I'm going into almost my 20th year in forensics, most of them being here with Orange County. I started in 2005 as a CSI. I'm currently the assistant lab supervisor, so I do work crime scenes occasionally, but now I mostly work over the lab. I cover biology, which, pre-screening for DNA type evidence. I also supervise the firearms section with our 2 firearm specialists, the image lab that does all the crime scene photos for Orange County. What else? I graduated from UCF, so my degree is in forensic science. I have a bachelor's from there with a chemistry minor. And let's see, I'm a wife and a mother of 2 kids as well. So.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tracy Serrano. I'm one of 4 managers for our 911 call center. I'm over one of our operational platoons. We have 2, and I also supervise our court comm center, or manage our court comm center. I've been with the agency for over 20 years, and prior to coming here, I worked as a dispatcher for Leesburg Police Department.
Hi, good evening. I am Michelle Petty-Pizzagno. I have been in law enforcement for 23 years, 13 of, am I saying that right? Yeah, 13 of those with Orange County. I'm newly promoted, less than a year, to records front counter supervisor, and I am married with 2 adult sons.
Awesome. Can we give them a hand? So it's safe to say there is a wide range of experience here. We probably should have done a little game to actually add up the numbers of experience. I don't know, does anybody remember? 20? It has to be, it's way more than 20. Okay. Well, good. So this is an exciting evening. Good to not only be able to communicate with each other, but learn something that some of you may be passionate about learning more about and possibly getting into in the future. So in front of you, you have some note cards and a pen. You have the opportunity to write down your questions throughout this session. At the end, if you want to, have that question answered, you can either raise your hand or someone will come to you and actually take that card from you, and we'll make sure to get your questions answered. So we will go ahead and actually begin. Also, I'm sorry, we love our Zoom people as well. All of you that are on Zoom, you also can actually type your questions in. We do have someone that is monitoring, and they'll make sure to answer your questions also. So we will go ahead and get started. Are you ladies ready? Yes? Okay. So first, our first question, some of these questions are questions that we get asked often or they get asked on a regular basis. Some are questions that were actually sent in to the recruiting team, and we want to make sure that we can touch on as much as possible. If for whatever reason at the end the questions are not answered, you can still reach out to our recruiting team, and they'll make sure to follow up with you and answer those questions for you at a later time. So our first question is going to be for Deputy McCray, Chief Deputy Demps, and Captain Strange. The question is, what concerns, if any, did your family and friends have with you becoming a deputy sheriff, and did their concerns change after successful completion of your training?
Well, so when I first wanted to get into law enforcement, I sat down with my wife and I talked to her about it, and she was like, nope, stay in the jail. That's what she said. She said, no, stay in the jail. So at that time, the climate of policing was questionable. We didn't know, what they were doing. We had the whole defund the police stuff going on. There were safety concerns and all that stuff. But to be honest with you, here, I worked in the jail. I've been around these deputies and officers for a while, and it was not like that here from what I experienced on my end. So after I went through training and she saw how hard I worked to get qualified and to be able to protect myself, she kind of got on board a little bit more. And then she was like, okay, this is something you really want to do, I support it. And then once I started with the agency and I was able to educate her on how we do things, the safety protocols, the trainings we do to get us prepared so that we are proactive out in the field rather than reactive to certain things that we've already seen. And all the stuff on TV, she realized that's like every now and then. That's not every day. That's over here at this agency, which is miles away from us, but that's that one incident that everybody's seen. Or it's that one incident in another area of Orange County that we weren't affected directly, but we were taught about it and we were able to overcome it. So once I talked to her about all that stuff, she was okay with it. And every day I come home and that's all she wants to know is, did I make it home? And once she sees me home, she's good every single day. I come home because my team ensures that.
I would say that for my family, I was not with my husband when I started this job, so he didn't really have an opinion on that. And he knew what he was getting into when we were dating. And we were dating, and I was in narcotics at the time. And he knew that, hey, this girl's going to do what she's going to do. She's good at it. I got to just be okay with it. And with my mom and my family, I had law enforcement in my family, and my mom always just said, she said, God wouldn't have put you into this job if you weren't able to do it. You wouldn't have gotten this far. And she's like, I just pray that God's going to get you home. And I always make sure that whenever I leave my house every day that I give my husband and my kids a kiss goodbye, and kiss when I get home, and we always pray for safety and, to keep up with training. So that's always just kind of been part of, our family, that it's just never really been something that we think about. You go into work, that's what you do.
All right, so my family, when I joined the Orange County Sheriff's Office, I was just, like I said, fresh out of military deployment for Desert Storm. So I knew that my matriarch of the family, my great-grandmother, that if she knew I was going into law enforcement, she would talk me out of it. So I didn't tell anyone that I was processing for deputy sheriff until I got the job and was getting ready to start training. So that's when I told them, and it was too late. They couldn't talk me out of it at that point. So since then, my family has been very proud of what I do, very supportive, and they are literally my backbone. So I spend a lot of time away from home, so they are there to support me. Initially, when I started, I didn't share stories of my day with the family, and I realized over time that made them worry more. So now I talk to my mother every day, and she asks, "How was your day?" And she actually knows people I work with. She'll ask me, "Hey, what did so-and-so do today? How'd you resolve that? What's going on here?" So I actually call her my junior deputy. She's a deputy mom. But yeah, now family is involved, and they're very, very supportive. And I think it's important for us to have that link to the ones we loved to make sure, because they're serving with us too. Just because we're at work, they're serving with us even though they're at home, because they have to worry, deal with, determining if we're going to come home during the day. But they are all very, very, very happy of us being very well trained, experienced, and knowing that we can take care of each other and that we do it as a team. It's not one person that is out there working. We're all working together. So they find solace in that.
Thank you. So I do want to touch on something really quick. You said narcotics, Captain Strange. You said narcotics. Can you enlighten us a little bit on that experience in narcotics? Like, what does that look like for those that have no idea what that means?
So it's
As much as you can.
It has been a while, but when I started, I was in patrol for 3 years, and then I was given the opportunity to go work in undercover narcotics for a few years. And it is a very unique experience, because when you know that you're going into law enforcement, you tend to be the type of kid that stays out of trouble and doesn't have a lot of experience with drugs. And then you're thrown into an environment where you are literally dealing with people that regularly use drugs or involved in prostitution. And so it's a really incredible experience. I used to do drama as a kid, and so it was creating this role and creating an identity, and you would have to get people to believe that you were, in fact, a drug user and not a cop. You had to learn that language and learn how to act and how to speak, and so it was a really, really exciting time. I think everybody should have the opportunity to at least do one detail in narcotics while they're in this profession. It's something that I loved, and I was the first female member of our clandestine lab response team, so I used to go into meth labs and our drug grow houses, and we did a ton of training for that, but we would work with the fire department closely. It was a really great experience and time, and something that I would encourage any young deputy to do.
Now, I don't know if you all had that question. Maybe it was for me. I can't do it, but I live vicariously through you and your experience. So our next question is going to be for everyone. What made you want to get into a career in law enforcement or surrounding law enforcement?
So to be completely honest about this question, because a lot of people ask me this, there was a point in my life where I almost lost everything. And I knew I needed something that was consistent, reliable, and respectable, because I wanted to make sure whatever I was doing, I would always get paid, no matter what. The government, and I said, the government pays. Or when I see paramilitary, I always see them or in their retirement and stuff like that, and I'm like, I want that. I want that lifestyle when I'm done, or when I'm finished working, to where I don't have to worry about where my paycheck's coming from. So I applied. I started a law enforcement career. I applied to the prison, actually by accident, but it worked out for me because once I got there, I realized, wow, I'm good at this. Let me try something else. Went to the jail. Okay, this is working too. I saw those deputies come in. I was like, that is what I want. That is my end game. And once I started talking to them and learning about it, I applied, and here I am. So it was just about consistency and finding something that I was good at and that I could do and something that I would be respected for.
I knew I wanted to do something different, but growing up, it was never really a dream or anything that I had thought that I was going to grow up and be in law enforcement. But when I was in college at UCF, I had a lot of professors in the criminal justice field, and a lot of the guest speakers were people that worked at the Orange County Sheriff's Office. And the more I learned about the agency, I was like, you know what, that's a really great place. I think I would like the opportunity to work there. And something that really grew for me is just how many opportunities that you have here in this agency to do so many different things, and that you're truly never bored. I think I've moved and been in a different position almost every 2 years that I've worked here. So there's always this chance to learn and grow and expand, and you are never bored. You're always doing something different, and there's always an opportunity to give back to your community in a huge way that you wouldn't have in any other line of work, and that's what I love about this job.
So for me, the Army actually opened my eyes to the organizational type of structure, working with a team, being a military police, and actually helping others. So every day you go out and do a patrol, but it's actually different because you're going to encounter different people, and that's in the Army. So I said, hey, I kind of missed that. I want to do something similar. I want to continue to give back to the community and earn a good paycheck and benefits. So I thought I wanted to be an attorney when I graduated from high school, but after I was deployed with the Army and worked as a military police, I knew law enforcement was where I wanted to be. So that's how I got into the role of law enforcement, and I've enjoyed it ever since.
Just to repeat the question, if you're just now tuning in, the question that we're asking all of our panelists is, what made you want to get into a career in law enforcement or surrounding those in law enforcement?
I actually am in law enforcement, obviously, but I'm not a deputy. I was always a science nerd as a kid. Science and math were always my favorite subjects. Not English, not literature, not reading, but definitely science and math. And out of high school, my first sort of grown-up job before I went to college, or while I was going to community college, was working in a hospital lab. I was like down in the basements, so to speak, of the lab, where we got all the urine samples and the blood samples from all the patients in the hospital. And that's when at that point I was like, I think I'm going to major in math. But then once I started working in that lab, I kind of was geared more towards the science realm. And I was going to go into like microbiology or become a lab analyst of some kind. And it was actually my current husband, who was my then boyfriend, said, you're really good at science and math and you like that stuff. Why don't you look into forensics? So I researched UCF and I found this amazing forensics program, one of the best in the country. And it was very, very science-based, very chemistry-based, very biology-based. At that time, they had the 2 tracks. You could go biology or chemistry. And I chose the chemistry track. And my plan was to be like a firearms examiner. That was my intent at that point. And then when I graduated from UCF, right before I graduated, I did my internship at Miami-Dade in the crime lab there. And that, if anybody's ever been there, that's one of the biggest crime labs ever, I think. And I mean, next to the FBI maybe. But it's very busy. There's a lot of different components. There's trace evidence. There's drug chemistry. At that time, they had the scanning electron microscope for gunshot residue. I mean, there were so many different parts of forensic science that I had no idea about until I was actually in it as doing my internship. And that was my goal at that point. I was like, I'm going to be a lab person. I'm going to be a forensic scientist for the rest of my life. And it didn't start off that way. As soon as I finished with college, I started applying to crime labs. And there, if you guys ever watched CSI, I guess I'm kind of dating myself, or any of those crime shows, you know, where they have the CSIs and the lab people working, those positions are really, you know, few and far between. And so when I was applying, I was flying to California, I was flying all over the place, looking for jobs in the lab. And so I ended up, my husband said, well, there's a CSI opening in Collier County, which is where I grew up. You should try that route. So I did that, and I did crime scene for 14 years before I started working in the lab. So now I get the best of both worlds, because I did the field work, you know, in crime scene, which is great. It's fun. It's a lot of work, but it's very rewarding. And now I get to be in the lab and occasionally go to crime scenes, but I get to stay on the other side. So it's been very rewarding, and I'm very happy where I'm at.
For me, in college, I went to school to be originally a business major. After my first semester, I realized that's not for me. So I went and switched gears and went the criminal justice route. And I originally wanted to be a deputy, so I came to this agency with the back thinking I'm going to go and get a sponsorship to go to the road. I started in the 911 call center. After listening to what the sworn dealt with day in, day out, I knew that that's not what I want to do. But the comm center has a lot of opportunity for growth. And once you start making a certain amount of money in the comm center, you're like, I'm safe, I'm in a secure building, I'm definitely not going to put my life on the line and go out there. I'm going to stay in my safe, fenced-in building and do my job here, and I'll help them from this aspect. And I've risen from the ranks of dispatcher, and now I'm a manager. And, you know, I don't want to go anywhere else. I'm going to finish my career here at the comm center.
Well, when I started in law enforcement 23 years ago, at the time, I had applied for 2 jobs. One was with the sheriff's office, and one was as an admin assistant. The admin assistant actually paid more, but the reason why I chose the law enforcement job, because I was offered both, was the benefits, to be flat out, straight up, the benefits. What's kept me here is the opportunity to be able to try different departments, different positions, opportunity for growth. It's just literally a great place to work, and job security.
Awesome. So thank you. Those were absolutely amazing answers. And just to kind of retouch on everything that was said and the picture that is being painted here, you obviously see some that are in uniform, some that are, you know, less than 5 years, more than 20 years of experience, and then civilian positions. Some that came in with the mindset of being in law enforcement and said, nope, this isn't for me. So that is one of the best things about the agency, is the ability to move around, learn about the agency, and figure out what is your best fit. And once you figure that out, you can call this place your home, right? So that's just a good thing to remember. For those that are watching online as well as you all, there are note cards in front of you with pens. You can write down your questions, and you can also type your questions in. So if you have any questions, we'll make sure to get those questions answered. If for some reason they're not answered or we don't get them answered by the end of this, our recruiters will reach out to you later on and make sure we answer all of your questions. So our next question, is everyone ready? Sure. Yes? Okay. This is going to be for Supervisor Korber. Did I say your name right? It's Kerber. Okay. Kerber, Chief Deputy Demps, and Supervisor Serrano. Okay? The question is, what unique qualities do you bring in this profession due to being a female?
Well, for me working in the comm center, being a female, our empathy. We deal with people who are in their most traumatic moments. Nobody calls 911 just to say thank you for being there. And if they do, it's very far and few between. So for us, it's understanding that our tone is going to control the person who's calling us. So if I'm talking to a child, I know that I need to adjust my tone, bring it down a little bit to calm them down. And if somebody's frantic or being hectic, I know that I need to use a strong but firm voice to control them and get them to answer the questions. Because if they don't answer our questions, we can't get the sworn there to them. So for me, it's having that empathy and understanding to adjust to the person you're speaking to.
For me, I think, and just for forensics in general, and it's very generally speaking, but women tend to be more meticulous and detail-oriented. Not trying to stereotype, but at UCF and all my forensics classes, it was 98% female, all of our classes, whether it was trace evidence or drug chemistry or whatnot. And even now, at the sheriff's office here, we have between our CSIs, our lab personnel, our latent print examiners, I think we have around 30 people. 3 of them are men. So it's all women. And I think a lot of it has to do, not to say that men can't be detail-oriented or good multitaskers or any of that, but generally speaking, I think that's a big part of it, is that we are able to look at the minutia, really focus on the details, and spend a lot of time looking at small things. I mean, I spent a lot of time in the microscope looking at cells, for cases involving sexual assaults and rapes and things like that. So it's being able to be very focused and very detail-oriented, and that's just for forensics. As a supervisor, I don't know if it has anything to do with me being a woman, but it's, just being a people person, being able to talk to people and get along with everybody and help solve problems, help focus, wherever the attention needs to be. So that's it.
Wow, I gotta follow them. So as they were talking, everything you said, I was like, okay, I'm gonna say that. Yeah. No, okay, now I have to change now I gotta change that. So some of the attributes I think I bring to the table is resiliency. So women are very resilient. So oftentimes we get a no at one instance, but we figure out how to get a yes, right? We're going to figure out how to make it better. We're going to figure out how to resolve the issue with or without the resources. We are also good at multitasking. So sometimes when we're in the midst of a chaotic scene, we're able to handle more than one thing. Men, on the other hand, are sometimes just focused on one thing only. I can only do this right now. I can't handle that right now. So I think we do a good job at juggling, i.e. we have families, we have a job, 2 jobs, whatever's going on. And the ability for understanding, putting yourself in others' shoes. So in this walk of life, normally in law enforcement, someone is calling us to their home because it's the worst day to them in their life. Someone may have taken something, someone may have been hurt, or they may just be lost. And we have the ability, as Tracy said earlier, to be empathetic, understanding, okay, figure out what the issue is, how can I help you right now and get you to the right place and get you the help you need. So it's several attributes that we bring. The calmness is another thing. So I think if you are interested in law enforcement or in any of the fields in law enforcement and you have passionate about it, as long as you have passion about it, I think you should move forward, go for your focus on your passion, and come and join us at the Orange County Sheriff's Office.
That was your invite. Okay, our next question is also going to be for everyone. We want to make sure that you all get the opportunity to hear from different representatives within the agency. And so the question is, law enforcement operates 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Are you able to shift with your days off and occasional unscheduled ordered overtime? You need me to repeat that question? Did you understand it? Okay.
So I think I have the question.
Okay.
Personally, I find that as a benefit because I don't like the typical 8 to 5 routine. I like to break it up a little bit. So those opportunities like tonight, to be able to do something out of the norm, and I can't lie, the money's good. So I'm never going to complain about being able to work overtime.
So I don't get overtime anymore. However, in the 911 call center, we have a variety of shifts. We have days and nights, and we are 24/7. with the changing of shifts, if let's say you want a day off, but you don't want to use your time balances, you can trade with somebody on who works the opposite rotation. They'll come in and work for you your work day, and then you can work for them on their day. That way you can have the day off that you want without using your time. You also are able to use, we earn time often. Every paycheck, we're earning time balances, and it builds up quickly. So if you need to take a day off, you can use your time to have a day off. Depending on the positions you work, we do have some administrative positions within the comm center, and those personnel are able to adjust their days. So if I had to work on Saturday for an event, I can take Monday through Friday off to cover the Saturday that I'm coming in. If I need to stay late to see my midnight people, I can come in late. I can start my day at 1 o'clock in the afternoon so that I'm able to see the night shift. So I do have that flexibility, and our employees have the flexibility with trading with their peers if they need to, or taking a day off, requesting a day off. And overtime, we do have mandated overtime in the comm center. We only require 16 hours a month. However, you have the ability for the entire month to select your day and your time frame that you want to work. So it's not, if you're a day shift person, you have to work a day shift, overtime shift. If you want to start your day at 12 o'clock and work 12 to 6 to get your hours in, you have the ability. There's a variety of shifts available to pick from.
In forensics, we have multiple CSIs, and of course, we're 24/7. So there are day shifts. Most of the people work day shift. We usually have 1 or 2 on the evening shift, and then there's an on-call rotation that starts at midnight. So there's lots of overtime. To my knowledge, there's never been a mandatory overtime because everybody knows their on-call schedule. Like, they plan that 6 weeks in advance. If you need to switch, or if you have something planned, you have an entire team of people that you can switch with, because we have 2 squads of CSIs, and they help each other out. They're a team, even though they go to the crime scenes typically by themselves, unless it's a major case. But typically they go by themselves. But as a squad, they're always supporting each other and switching if they need to or what have you. In the lab, I'm working my 410s now, so I'm kind of enjoying the the banker's hours or whatever. But yeah, as a CSI, there was a lot of weekends, nights, holidays, working on call a lot. But it's fun. It's not boring because you're not doing the same thing every single day. So having that change in schedule is kind of fun too.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah. I'm going to repeat the question that they are all answering right now. Law enforcement operates 24 hours a day and 7 days a week. Are you able to shift your days off and occasionally unscheduled ordered overtime?
All right. We had a few that joined us. I just wanted to make sure they were up with us. So switching days. So we do work for patrol. I'm sure you're going to talk about it, McCray, so I'm not going to go too much into it. But, law enforcement is 24/7, 365 a day, even during a hurricane, even during a emergency situation. So just if you're in law enforcement or working with law enforcement because you're with us here often, there may be times when you are required to stay past your normal shift or come in and stay 12, 14 hours until the hurricane goes through, and then we have to take care of the community. So it's a rewarding job, as we say. You're going to be here knowing that you're needed and that the community is going to be calling. They want you to come and take care of them. They want you to take care of an issue, and we want to make sure everybody's safe. So for me right now, my shift is whenever. As a chief deputy, I'm working weekends sometimes, I'm working nights sometimes, I'm working early morning sometimes, but I love the flexibility. I love being busy. I love the changes. Doing the same thing every day, as Miss Michelle said on the end, is like, it's not exciting. So being able to shake it up, move your schedule around, and be there whenever you're needed for the community is rewarding for me. So I didn't want to go into patrol because I'm going to let Captain and Deputy McCray go into that, but you can shift around. You do have the opportunity to schedule time off, schedule days off, schedule vacations. That's flexibility to do that ahead of time. So we're always looking at calendars, making sure we have coverage no matter what. So we enjoy being here, and sometimes we have to make each other go home because we're here so late sometimes, just taking care of the community and each other.
In the same vein, talking about different shifts, so generally as you move through the ranks and promote, there's always a very good likelihood that when you promote, you're going to go right back to midnight. So you're working to get off that midnight shift, but then you get that first promotion. And low man on the totem pole, like you're going back to night shift. So as someone with a family, you do have to rely on your village. My husband is a firefighter, so there are nights where both of us were not home, and thank God our mothers love us, and they were more than gracious all these years and have always helped out with our kids. So between, we would have daycare, we would have, our mothers would help, and then there would also be times where I would be on call, and I'd call my neighbor and be like, hey, can you watch the kids? I have to go to this call. It should be only like 2 hours, and they would help me watch my kids. Or other deputies, we would, switch nights to help one another out, and there was a childcare issue. So overwhelmingly, you have to have your village in place, but you do watch out for your team. And so there's been plenty of times where, hey, it's my son's birthday this weekend. Take off. I got it Saturday. Don't worry about it. You work out with one another, because at some point you're going to need something, and you just kind of always watch out for one another and cover for as things come up. But the best kept secret in the patrol schedule, which I'm sure Summer will get into, there's a lot of perks to that schedule as well.
Okay, so clearly they want me to elaborate on what we do on the road. Okay, so I prioritize my shift schedule before anything I do, because we have our regular shift schedule. We can work off duty, we can work details, we can do extracurricular stuff with the agency, volunteer work in different units if they invite us to cross-train and things like that. However, our schedule is on a rotating basis. You get every other weekend off. So this week is what I consider my long week. I am off Wednesday, Thursday only. I work Monday, Tuesday. I'm off Wednesday, Thursday. I work Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The next week, that schedule flips. So if I want that whole entire week off, all I have to do is take off Wednesday and Thursday. That's it. And I have the whole week off. And that is up to me. The way I schedule my vacations and stuff like that, I do it a year in advance. So I send all my dates in at the beginning of the year, just to see. If I get them, I get them. If I don't, I don't. But I'm already prepared for those yeses and those nos, and my supervisors are already up to date on how they're going to schedule. Now, my supervisors do something really cool, which is if they know our other squads need help, they'll do a pre-schedule for us. So she'll send out an email and say, hey, Midnights is going to need help tonight. What days do you guys want to work? She gives us that priority first, or that choice first. So this weekend, I chose Sunday. Other people chose Friday. Other people chose Saturday. So our whole entire, we're covered. And we all volunteer and want to do that because we know that those squads, we don't want to leave them out there when they're short. Or if they need time off, we want to give them that. We want to work with each other. We work well together. So it helps out everybody, and it keeps us safe. Our number one priority is safety for each other, looking out for each other. I don't want one of my fellow deputies, whether they are on my squad or another squad, to go to a call by themselves. I don't care what call it is. It could be anything, but I'd rather be there for them and stay late for them just to have their backs and to allow them to also spend time with their families and do what they need to do, because at the end of the day, our schedules are flexible. Now, on my off days, we get a list of different jobs we're allowed to do or that we can do, and I can just plug in on my days off, like those hours, if I want to. If I don't want to, I don't have to work it at all. I can stay home. It's very flexible, and you still get paid for all of it. So that's the best part about it all. So how was that? Was that good? Yes, a year. I absolutely.
Yeah, with the patrol schedule, in essence, so what Summer was saying, out of a 2-week period, you're only working 7 days. So over the course of the year, your actual time requirement is only half the year. And on top of that, you're still building time off. So a lot of places, you might have to work, typical corporate world is a Monday through Friday, an 8 to 5 job, and you only get 2 weeks off the year. It's not like that at all here. You're always accruing and building that time off. So it's a really great opportunity.
Add one more thing to that. I'm just gonna add one more thing to that. So it also said like, if we're ordered or anything like that, anything I am asked to do by my command or my supervisors immediately, that comes first. So if I was scheduled something outside of that, I'm gonna cancel that all day. That's gonna go and I'm gonna work what Orange County needs me to work. Orange County Sheriff's Office, my supervisors, my sergeants, my corporals, my captain, and so on. So that is always going to come first. So all the extra stuff we do, that is secondary.
So while we're here, this might be a good, a little segue to this question. All of you can answer, anyone can answer. Don't fight over it, okay? How has the department assisted you in reaching your career goals?
So as I mentioned earlier, for those of you who were here during it, in the comm center, we have the opportunity to progress. There's a lot of opportunity for growth. You can start off as a 911 call taker, and you're going to get paid for working that. You learn dispatch, you get paid an additional bump to learning dispatch. You learn teletype, which are so 911 answers the phone calls. Teletype are the ones who will, if your car is stolen, they're going to enter it into the database. So when the tag is run, they'll be able to, deputies and officers can find your car. They do that. And dispatchers are the ones who talk directly to the deputies. So for each tier, you get an additional amount of money in your paycheck just for learning that. That's not even supervision. That's just doing our job in basis. Then we have the opportunity, there's ASL, which is the assistant supervisor. That's one step. Then there's a step to be a supervisor, and then there's manager, where I'm at now. I started here as a dispatcher because I had prior experience from another agency. So I went from dispatcher, I got my 3 tiers. Then I went to become an ASL and a supervisor, and now a manager. The agency allows us to go to tons of leadership training classes, which also help us with getting to where we want in our goal. And then any supervisor above you is like your mentor. So you find that great mentor or mentors, and you hone in on what got them to where they're at, because that's what you want to do. And you take from them, and then you create your own persona at work. So we have a lot of opportunities within the positions available, opportunity to go to training classes that the agency will pay for, and then there's mentors out there that help you get to where you want to be. So that's how the agency helped me get to where I am.
So this is a perfect plug for my women's group. So
Tell us about that when you get a chance.
Well, I'm going to take
Oh,
the
that's where you're
opportunity
going.
right now.
Okay, all right,
I'm
go
gonna-
ahead. Go ahead.
So I actually, talking about opportunities for training and management courses, I was at a leadership course, a supervisor's course at Valencia, and another student talked about a women's group that their agency did. Well, I was so interested in it, I asked her if I could go to their women's meeting, and I loved it so much, I asked if I could bring it back to Orange County Sheriff's Office, and of course, it took a process, but I was able to bring this women's group to the Sheriff's Office. And basically, it's specifically for mentoring and developing women, both personally and professionally. And so for me, one, being able to go to a leadership class that was a certification program that was at Valencia, we have tons of training in-house that you're able to go to, but it's not limited there. you're allowed to attend training classes and certification classes, tuition reimbursement for going to college. So all that on top of surrounding myself with other supervisors and managers and, the majors and chief, other professional women over all those years have, that networking and building up my self-confidence has really gotten me where I am today.
That's awesome. I've been to some of our women's groups, so women's meetings. It's awesome. I just want to say with the agency, they've provided me so much training in all the years I've been here. Like, I've been to all kinds of forensics conferences and trainings. I got to go to the Body Farm, the University of Tennessee, which, not a lot of people can say that. And that was really, really just a huge highlight. But, most agencies wouldn't, or not, I wouldn't say most agencies, but a lot of people don't get those opportunities. So this agency definitely provides the training and gives us what we need to move up and to improve and to just, build, hone our skills. So I'm very proud of that.
One of the other opportunities that if, let's say, your supervisor is going to be out of town, let's say they're going to be gone for 2 weeks, or they have a medical issue, or something comes up, there's an opportunity to be the acting of that person. So talk about getting thrown to the fire, thrown to the wolves, because you better put up or shut up, because you better get up there and fill in their job like they didn't miss a beat. And so it's a great opportunity for one, these people, your supervisors have generally already been mentoring you, and if they trust you enough to say, hey, I'll let you be in charge while I'm gone, they at least believe that you're capable of doing the job. And so that's been a great learning opportunity for me in moving through different ranks, that I've always had that opportunity to always think one step ahead of my current rank. And I think that's always helped me in promotional testing and just being prepared for other jobs within the agency, is being able to act as that before you have to actually do it.
Yeah, a little bit. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. So as for me, 1-year deputy here. They like to say that here. 1-year deputy here. And so it's the people who work in these specialty units as well. So if you come across them just walking through the hall or anything like that, they are so passionate about what they're doing. They will teach you right there in the hallway. Like, oh, you want to test drugs? This is how you do it. Or, oh, you want to walk with my dog? Come throw the ball or do the track with me. Like, and you're training right there. If you're interested in K-9, you just got a little bit of K-9 experience. So, not only are there opportunities here, they're achievable. So it's not just them saying, hey, come. They mean it. They're not just being nice in the hallway. They're like, yeah, you need to call me, send me an email, we can meet up. If you have some time on the road or anything like that, I'll come to you, whatever. They will do it. They love it. They love every aspect of all of their specialties and stuff like that. And that's what I appreciated, because not only are they just telling you, they actually follow through with what they're saying.
Now, what do you mean by test drugs?
So, sorry. So in the field, if I find drugs on someone from a search, a good search, which means I got permission, or there was a crime involved and I was able to justify why I found these drugs. In order for me to say, yes, I found these drugs, I need to test them. So we have different drug kits and different packets from FDLE or whoever makes the drug kits, who knows those chemicals and stuff, is probably forensics. I don't know. But whoever knows, that's the technicalities of stuff. They give me a little packet, and I take a little piece of it, and I put it inside, shake it, and it comes back. It tells me whether it's positive or negative. And if I have a positive, you have those drugs, and I can charge you for that. Yep, that's how that works. Yep, that's just pretty much, that's it.
So here's the beauty. This is the beauty in the size of the agency and the ability to move around. You have a wide variety of women up here with a lot of different experience. And as Deputy McCray said, she can be in the hallway communicating with someone who says, hey, I'll show you this right now. And then she 1 year in all, just gave us a nice little educational speech on this is what we do and this is how we do it and this is how it can end. So again, the Orange County Sheriff's Office is often giving back to its employees, and there are many things that you can take away. Even I've seen a lot of people, they retire, and a lot of the skills and things that they've learned just being in this career, they've actually taken it with them to do other things. So don't sell yourself short. Uniform or not, there are many things that you can get into specifically within this agency. So this is a good question. I don't know who's going to answer it. This is actually a question from one of our awesome registers that are online. The question is, I'm going to be 40. Is it too late to start as a deputy or forensics?
Put your application in. Let's do this. No, there are no age restrictions, and with the academy, if you can physically run, you can do push-ups, you can do sit-ups. If you can pass and show up and take the test and show up to the academy and work out, if you can get in a fight and win, if you are willing to show up, we're willing to give you a shot. That's really all there is to it. And the same, I don't want to speak on behalf of forensics, but I'm sure there's several other educational factors that go into it, but there is definitely no age restrictions here.
Yeah, there are no age restrictions. 40 is still very young and spry. For our unit specifically, not all that we require, but what we require is a hard science, like a college degree, a bachelor's degree in a hard science, whether it's biology, chemistry, forensics, zoology. Think of all the hard sciences. But yeah, there's absolutely no age requirement, and 40 is still very young. So come on out.
Again, if you are just joining us, or if for whatever reason you forgot, you got caught up in all the information that you were being given, if you have questions, write them down on your note cards, type them in the chat, and we will make sure that we get those answered. Again, if for some reason it's not answered tonight, our recruiters will reach out to you and make sure to get those questions answered for you. Our next question: what is some of the advice you share with young women in this profession? So let's start with Chief Dims. Oh, she's ready. She's ready.
Okay, so I talked about it a little bit earlier. If you feel that you are passionate about communications, forensics, deputy sheriff, being a manager in one of our administrative areas, you got to follow your passion. So I always tell young women who think they can't do it, or they're apprehensive of, hey, I can't do it because, and I ask them why not. And when I pose that question to them, they can't really give me an answer other than, I don't know, or I don't think I can do it. If you're passionate about it, I tell everyone that's interested, come, fill out an application, go through the process, and if you are willing to do the work, put in the work, then you're going to succeed. So don't put limitations on yourself. Age 40, don't put limitations on yourself. If it's your passion, it's your passion. Do not leave this earth without following your passion. So sometimes they ask about the dangers of the job, the stressors of the job. Well, everything we do every day is dangerous. You drove here today. You drove somewhere today. That's very dangerous. The experience that you gain as far as training, learning how to deal with certain situations, learning how to protect yourself, that's going to keep you safe. And that's going to be a part of the training that you get, a part of indoctrination in law enforcement. So don't feel that, don't hinder yourself from following your passion. So that's what I normally tell young women. And then I tell them, come with me now and let's go fill out the application. So I've had one person take me up on it so far that I walked her into HR with me and got her the information she needed. So I'm waiting for her to call me back and said, hey, I did everything I need to do.
Now, I didn't read you the full question. That was on purpose.
Okay.
Because I wanted you to answer that and then add in it being a male-dominated career.
Okay.
I'll ask the question again.
Yeah, ask the
What is
question
some
again.
of the advice you share with young women in this profession as this career is as this is a male-dominated career?
Okay, so it's still similar. Do not cheat yourself. If you think you could do it, do it. But I think women in law enforcement, we're very strong at what we do. So it being a male-dominated career profession should not hinder you. There is room at the table for everyone, all walks of life, all shapes and sizes, all ages, because we are a representative of the community. So you don't have only 20-year-olds in the community. You don't have only men in the community. We need everyone that is here to be able to police, help, assist our community. So I take it as a challenge when I'm in a male-dominated field, and it's always been a challenge. So I always think if they can do it, I can do it, and I can do it better. Why can't I do it better? I'm going to beat you. I'm going to beat you. So when I went through the academy, my defensive tactic partner was 6'2", 190 pounds, because I didn't want another female, because I want to make sure when I get on the road that I'm going to encounter someone that looks like him and I can handle myself. He didn't fare very well, because I did not take it lightly. I fought him like I was going to be on the street, and he said, "Hey, wait, you're supposed to be 50%. No, I want to make sure I can handle myself." So I actually see it as a challenge when I have male peers that are in the same area or the same section or doing the same things that if we're in the same area. I want to make sure that I do better than they do. I want to make sure that I can do as well as they do. So it's more of a challenge for me. So that's what I would tell the young ladies getting into the career, and I think some of the ladies here probably have the same mindset, so we can do it better most of the time. But I'll pass it off if you want me to pass it off to someone else.
So we're going to move to another question that's
Okay.
still in that same area.
Okay.
For Supervisor Serrano and then Captain Strange. The question is, do you experience resistance when you are leading men?
That's a good question. But for the difference between the communication center and then the sworn is the majority for us are female. We are female dominated in the comm center, but we do have males that work in the comm center. And personally, I have never had an issue with having to have a coaching or counseling session with a male, with male and female, as long as you have your facts and you research before you go to somebody and approach them, whether it's instructing, coaching, counseling, or just guiding them through a call that they're working, they know that you're in your position and they trust you in your position and they respect you in your position. You just have to be fair, honest, and be able to show facts on why you're coming to them with this information. But for me, I've never had that issue. Again, the majority of us are females, though.
And Captain Strange.
So it is kind of funny, just thinking back when I had first gotten promoted, when I had gotten promoted corporal, I was right around 27 years old. And so one of my first assignments, I was the youngest person on the squad. So I did have a few people that did challenge that, but I never stepped down. I had a job to do. My job was to be the supervisor. And I don't know that I necessarily had to flex or do anything out of the ordinary, but I did my job. This is what we're doing. This is how the day's going. This is what you're expected of. If you're not doing your part, you're going to know about it, and I'm going to hold you accountable to that. And I think by treating people fairly and they knew what to expect from me, I really have not had many issues with male or female of people challenging my authority in that regard. And a lot of times it would become funny, as I was a supervisor on the road, I would often have all male deputies on the road, and so there would be something and they're like, well, we want to talk to your supervisor, and they're like, well, she's right there. And so it was also kind of funny because people were like, oh, you're the boss? I'm like, yeah, I'm the boss. What of it? And so it was always a funny thing when you have all these huge guys and they're like, oh, okay, well, this is what's going on. And so when you show up, you own the part, you were put there for a reason. You don't step down from that, and you do what you were promoted and put in place to do. And that's how I've always looked at it. And I don't ever feel that I've had to go out of my way to assert my authority or be a negative B word to try to go above and beyond to prove myself in that regard. So, correct. You earn the respect, and you give people the same respect that you want back for yourself.
Awesome. So this next question is going to be for Supervisor Petty Pizzagno. Did I get it right? Okay, close. Okay. There are actually two questions for you.
Okay.
The first one is actually the one that they were just answering, which is, do you experience resistance when you are leading men?
So, no, I do directly supervise some men. And really, once they get to know that you know what you're talking about, that's all it takes. If they had any resistance, it was never presented to me or verbalized to me. So, yeah.
And then the next question, we'll start with you, is how do you manage stress?
So for me, my faith plays a big part in managing my stress. There's a few things I do. One, I make it a point to read a motivational scripture every day. I for years have kept a daily calendar on my desk, and every day I read it. I start my day by reading that. And so when stressful times come up, I kind of like preach to myself and remind myself of all those promises that I've read every day. The other thing I have the opportunity to do is I listen to books on audio, and I do that coming to work, and I do that going home to work. And I do that intentionally so that, like, especially if it's a good book, I'm removing myself from the job on my way to work and on my way home from work, so that by the time I get home, work's not even on my mind. And it works for me.
And that's the same question going to be for Supervisor Serrano and Deputy McCray. How do you manage stress?
So I'm going to answer this in two parts. At work, I do deal with a stressful job. I'm not out there on the field having people approaching me, but in the comm center, it is a stressful job because you have people yelling in your ear during their hectic moment. So I can't unplug. Somebody has to be there to communicate. So in those moments, it's take a breath and realize you can only control what's going on at one call at a time. So it's take a breath, breathe. When you get a moment to take a break, you go walk around the building, get some fresh air. That's how I deal with stress at work. It's breathe, recenter myself, or go for a walk. And then on my days off, I do try to separate myself from work. So I am one of those who I'm friends at work, but outside of work, it's separate. I have my friends are people I've known for years from college and things like that. So I have confidence that I can talk to about things. If it's something confidential, obviously I can't talk about those, but you can broach certain topics with your family and your friends. And then my other thing is I like to go and either walk around lakes. We have a lot of lakes in Orlando, and we're really close to the East Coast. So I'll often take a drive down to Lake Coco and just watch and listen to the ocean. That's how I manage my stress. And then, massages every so often.
That same question for Deputy McCray. How do you manage stress?
Okay, so on the job, the way I manage stress, because usually if it's a stressful incident, there's more than one person on scene. So I use the tap out method. And the tap out method is I may make contact with someone first, start talking to them first. And if it's like too chaotic, I'll ask another deputy to step in and help me to make sure that I'm not missing anything when someone's possibly freaking out in front of me or anything like that. Or while I'm on scene, so that everything isn't coming to me all at once, I delegate. hey, can you take this person over there? Hey, can you take this person over here? Can you talk to them? Can you get their information and stuff like that? So that calms down the scene for me because everyone else is helping me like with the workload. At home, I watch TV. I sit on my couch. I take a nap. I literally just, I tell myself, today you are a civilian. You are not a law enforcement officer today. You are a civilian. You are not going nowhere. You are going to drive your personal vehicle, okay? And then if it's too overwhelming, if I feel that, you know, stress is overtaking me, I schedule an appointment with my therapist. We have EAP here, which is the Employee Assistance Program, and they pay for our sessions. So that I use that all the time. I need it. I do. I need it. I like it. I need it. And the therapists that I talk to are really, really good. And you can choose who based on what you want and what your needs are. And most of mine is just, yeah, job stress. Can we talk? And that's it. Right now, so my guilty pleasure is reality TV. And I like the Basketball Wives and stuff like that. But if I were to choose right now, probably The Rookie. I really like The Rookie. It is a cop show, unfortunately. So cliche. All right.
If you didn't ask, she asked what was her favorite TV show. That's a very important question. So the next question that we're going to ask is actually from someone who typed in a question. It says, which Deputy McCray, you can probably answer. It might have changed for some of you. What are you to expect throughout the academy and how to prepare? How do you prepare for the academy and what is the expectation?
Yeah, this is a good question for me because I actually went through 2 academies. I went through one for corrections when I first started, and then I did the crossover because I was already partially certified, and I put myself through a crossover in order to get my law enforcement. So it's 2 different certifications. When I was preparing, I was running 3 miles a day, running. And doing my sit-ups once I finished my run, I would run. I lived on Kirkman at the time, so I don't know if you guys are familiar with Eagles Nest Park. So I would run from my apartment complex all the way to Eagles Nest Park and back home. And then this was every day before I even started the academy. And then once I got home, I did my sit-ups and I did my push-ups. And I did every day, I just upped it. So I went 25, the next day I do 30, the next day I do 40, the next day I do 50, and I upped it every single time. So that's how I prepared for the academy. Once I got in the academy, it was because my body was already used to it. So once it came to running and the physical stuff, it was nothing for me. But everybody's different. And I realized that once I got there because when I was with my fellow classmates, the colonel at the time would always make me do extra laps. So I'm like, he's like, yeah, go help this person, go help this person. I was like, but I'm done. Like, this is the point of me preparing, like, so I can finish early. But because I was already there, I helped other people get there as well. And by the time we were all running at the same time. So even though they didn't do what I did, I was able to help them get to where I was. And we all were the same. So that's how I prepared.
Deputy McCray is going to show you guys what 40 push-ups look like after this. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
5 with all the stuff.
I am just kidding. But yes, preparing physically is always important. So another question that we have is, do you have to take some type of law enforcement classes? Anyone can answer.
I mean,
in the academy. I think it's prior to
I got
law
my
enforcement.
bachelor's in criminal justice, which honestly, it's good to have. But when it comes to the academy, it's totally different. Like, those are different certifications you're getting because it's state. So yes, I got my degree and I got my bachelor's and, my education part. But once you go to the academy, that's not going to roll over. You got to take all the classes that FDLE wants you to take and pass those those requirements. So it's completely different, and a lot of people don't know that either.
Awesome. So this question is for Chief Deputy Demps and Supervisor Kerber. Close? Yes? Okay, I'm trying. All right. What has been your most memorable experience in your profession?
Wow. You have one ready?
Well, let's do this
that's
in case
way
for those that came in after. Tell us how long you have been here, and then answer the question.
All right. Welcome if you're just joining us. I am Chief Deputy Denise Demps, and I have been with the Orange County Sheriff Office for 32 years now. So let me see, most memorable. So I've worked, I'll give you a general. So I've worked patrol, undercover narcotics, robbery investigator, child abuse, professional standards, which is our internal affairs, where you investigate complaints against our employees, as well as, I'm trying to think other than that, managerial, several managerial positions. So I guess one of my most memorable would be when I worked child abuse and was able to respond to a missing child out near International Drive at the time, parents from out of state, no other, no known persons here, and the child was missing from a hotel. And that investigation was very, a lot of unknowns, very tedious, and we were able to find the child safely in Orange County at another location, and the child had actually been taken by a stranger. So we know in most of those cases, the outcome is not normally good. If someone's taking your child, they're normally taking your child to do something terrible to them. And we were able to recover the child because the person that took the child took the child to another location, and the person that was in that home actually saw fit to call and let us know what was going on. They didn't want to be known, but they were able to get away from the house, give us information, tell us where they were, tell us what's in the house, tell us what's going on. So it was very rewarding to see that family reunited, and they were so happy. They were so happy. It was a long day, long night, but at the end of the day, recovering a child that is unharmed speaks volumes. So that's one of my most memorable cases involving a child abuse case or a child abduction case.
And Supervisor Kerber, same question. What has been your most memorable experience in your profession?
Mine is also involving a child, but unfortunately didn't have a good outcome. It's a very famous case that I'm sure many people have heard about. In 2008, we had a little girl named Kaylee Anthony that went missing. And our entire unit spent the better part of 6 months going to every single call in the county that involved bones, or, we were out digging in marshes and woods looking for, anything from chicken bones to deer bones, like every bone that somebody would come across, they called us out. So we spent, between that and the actual processing of the vehicle and everything that went on in that case, was the most memorable. Obviously, it didn't end well. We did find her in December of that year, and she, of course, had been killed. But we spent the better part of 2 weeks as a unit, our entire forensics unit. We even had our image lab people out there, our guys who, were deputies who were about to retire. They were out there digging with us, and we pretty much cleared about, an acre and a half of land on our hands and knees looking for Kaylee and looking for all the evidence, finding all her bones. And it was traumatic and it was difficult. I was actually 5 months pregnant with my youngest, who's out in the audience right now, during that time. So that's also why it was so memorable. But it was a lot of work. It was very hard. It was 16, 17-hour days for 2 weeks straight, on our hands and knees, digging and bugs and snakes and mosquitoes and, the whole nine, and then still having to work the regular crime scenes on top of that. So it was, it ended sadly, but of course it was the most memorable experience of my career thus far. So.
So we're going to ask the same question for Supervisor Petty Pizzagno. That question is, what has been your most memorable experience in your profession?
Well, I would have to say the day I got promoted to supervisor was the most memorable because I had worked a long time and gone to college and, mentored with other people for a while before it happened. So it was a very good day, very good moment.
And when did you get promoted?
To what?
When?
When?
Mm-hmm.
I want to say it was August of last year.
August of last
Yeah,
year.
so newly promoted.
Okay. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So we have one more question that is already written out for the panelists, and then we're actually going to go to the audience. So if you have written down questions, I'm going to come to you, give you the opportunity to ask that question. If you don't want to ask it yourself, I will ask it for you. Just hold your card up, let me know who you are, and then I'll make my way down to you. So the next question that was asked is, are there any openings for 911 dispatcher? And what is the best thing about being a 911 dispatcher?
Okay. So yes, we do have openings. If you go to OCSO, www.ocso.com, there's a link for civilian employment. We're like the second thing on that list. Go ahead and click on it and start your pre-app. But yes, we do have openings. And I kind of touched on it. It's you're in a secure location, but you still are a part of the agency. Deputies can't get to their calls if we don't answer the 911 calls and get the information that they're going to need and filter and ask the questions and get, descriptions, locations, and all what's going on to pre-screen what's the case they're going to be going to. So right? Is that what the question? That was the question, right? Yeah. So in order for a deputy to do their job and forensics to do their job, we have to answer those calls, process the calls, pre-screen the questions, send it up, send a deputy to it, and then they can do their job. The benefit of doing it is you're being a part of the agency, but you're safe. We don't have to deal with the weather. We don't have to worry about rain, mosquitoes, snakes, or any of that. We're in a secure building. We don't have windows, so we don't even know what the weather is like. But it's fun. It's rewarding. You know that you helped get someone the assistance that they need, and that's part. You're rewarded, but you don't have to put yourselves out in the elements of Florida.
Awesome. And I do have another question for someone that asked on the outside. How many of you out here have questions? Come on, raise your hands with excitement. Great. Okay, good. So before we get to you all, we'll let you all answer this question, everyone that wants to. Have you ever found yourself in a situation you could not handle because you were a female? If so, how did you deal with this? You ready?
So I've never faced a situation that I could not handle because I was a female. But the only thing that comes to mind for that question is when I was a background investigator. Of course, I'm civilian, so I don't have a badge or a gun. And we would go do neighborhood checks and go and knocking on doors. Well, I would bring a certified person with me at times, depending on which neighborhood I was going to. So at times, I would knock on the door. I would be the one to knock on the door. He was just standing behind me, and they'd answer the door, and I'd start asking questions. Well, for every question that I was asking, they would just look right over my shoulder and look at the mail, but I just looked at the bigger picture for that. I just kept asking my questions, and they would answer to the mail, and I got the information I was looking for, so it worked out.
Absolutely. Same question.
Yeah. I don't really have any. I don't have anything to say to that because I've never been in a situation where I couldn't, at work anyway. We have a team that works together, and male or female, if there's something that's challenging or whatever, there's someone else to help, and we just work together and get through it. So lucky that way.
You have something, Ashley?
Yeah, I was going to say, no, there haven't been any situations that I can think of where, I'm like, oh, I'm a girl, I can't do this. It hasn't happened. I could say that, there was one situation where there was a group of firefighters that they had a combative subject, and they requested assistance from a deputy. And I show up, and I'm not exactly petite, I'm 5'10", but this is 3 giant guys, and I'm the one that shows up to help them. I'm like, let's go, let's do this. So you deal with the hand that you're dealt. They seemed a little embarrassed after that, but I was like, hey, this is what you got to deal with it. And I've never had an issue in dealing with anything with the guys. I think that when you first start, when you're doing your defensive tactics trainings, that a lot of times the guys will try to be soft on you until you get a good hit on them, and they're like, whoa, okay, all right, fine, I'll hit you for real now because that's embarrassing. But it's fun, and you build that camaraderie. But I will say, I think that our guys also, they do kind of protect us like they're sisters. So that I don't ever feel that there's never been a time that, even if there was a situation, if I had it under control, that I know that I have one of my brothers or sisters ready to jump in there and help right away as well.
Yeah, so the situation that I experienced where it seemed like I couldn't handle it because I was a female it was a cultural thing. So the male, their culture, they do not take direction from women. So he would not talk to me. He would not listen to nothing I said. So I had no choice but to get a male there to at least talk to him and give me the information in the background so I could, technically I was still running the call, but he just would not give me the information because in his culture, they don't talk to women. Women do not have no say-so over anything they do. And that's the only time I've had that issue. Other than that, no.
And that's a good point. I was gonna say, I haven't had an opportunity where I couldn't perform, but we are a male-dominated profession, and the males think they have to protect us. So there's been times when they thought they had to step in, and I'm like, no, get out the way. I got this. So it doesn't come into play until you have different cultures. So there is some cultures where the women is not in a dominated position. So you use your tools. You use the male to get the information or to get them to do what you want them to do, but you're still in control. So I think that was a good point that you brought up.
Yeah, and just to add to that, hopefully we all remember, each individual has a different quality. And when you're working with people in whatever capacity it is, you find out what their specific quality it is and how it can enhance yours, and then you become a great team. So whether they're male, female, older, or younger, we can all provide something for each other. We just have to kind of figure out what that is and allow it to work for us. So now is a very exciting part where everyone, including those on Zoom, you get the opportunity to begin to interact and ask our panelists anything you want to ask. Just kidding. Not anything. Okay, but we will answer every question that we can. So who wants to go first? I'll come to you.
By the way, this is absolutely wonderful. I love it.
Thank you for coming.
Yes. My name is Rachel Foster, and I work with the military folks, and I invited 28 of them, so I don't know who's online, or I don't see anybody in here that I know. But what I wanted to say to the communications officer, is there a special aptitude that you have to determine whether somebody could handle the stress of the 911 calls? Like for me, I'm almost 63. So I'm getting ready to retire, so I've been thinking about what I want to do next. Thanks. So I'm saying, how would I know whether I have the aptitude for a 911 operator? Because I've met, in this job I've done for 15 years as an employment coach with all the military branches, I meet people, not necessarily in the military, but in my mind would be great 911 operators, and they say, oh, no, it's too stressful. So if you could answer that. One other thing, Orange County Sheriff's Office, you guys signed as partners with the military about 14 years ago. So out of all the law enforcement folks around, I have the Central Florida area, I've had all of Florida, Puerto Rico, and the Virgin Islands, but Orange County is my heart. So for those of you that are sitting in here and looking, you guys need to do them applications tonight.
We're going to put her on the panel after you answer that question.
Thank you for the plug to tell everybody to go ahead and put those applications in. The way that our process works is you fill out your pre-screen application, and then you're going to be sent a link to what's called Critical. And it's a multitasking type of test. And it's just going to randomly throw things at you to see if you can keep up with what's requested. After that, you go through the rest of the background, and when you're hired, we give you an ample amount of training. We do 6 weeks of classroom training, and during the classroom training, we do group scenarios, and then we do one-on-one scenarios where we do mock phone calls with you, and we act as the people who would call 911. So you're going to be having, throughout 6 weeks, classroom, non-stressful situations where you have us acting out and giving you those real-life scenarios, but without somebody's life there for you. And then when you finish that classroom scenario, you'll go and you'll do on-the-job training, and you have somebody sitting with you for 3 months total to walk you through live calls. So at no point are you having to handle these calls. You're in training for almost 5 months with somebody sitting there with you, guiding you through these situations. So we train you very well, as in to know if you can actually do it during the classroom scenario and the on-the-job. You're going to know immediately if this is for you. But we also have where if you want to see how it is, if you contact our recruiters, they may be able to set up to where somebody can come and shadow our comm center. And then you can hear live calls and see if that's something you want to do. Oh, you can also do ride-alongs too for those of you who are interested in being deputies.
Awesome. So we have another question here.
Hi, my name is Santavia. So the reason I became interested is because I worked security at the juvenile courthouse and at the administration building. And I've always been interested in law enforcement, but I was always unsure because I always felt like, well, this is maybe a male-dominated field. It wasn't until I saw a woman deputy at the juvenile courthouse and I asked her about it, and she's really been encouraging me to apply. But I just feel like something that I have a question about is, as far as experience, would my security experience be enough for me to have the potential to even apply? Or is law enforcement experience or military experience like required?
No, your security experience is wonderful. It is actually, I mean, you'd have to talk to our recruiters, but that's hopefully something that would set you up really ideally for a sponsorship, which is one of the options we have, where a sponsorship is a really great opportunity because we pay for you to go to the academy, you're getting paid, and you're guaranteed a job. And so let's say you graduate on Friday night, you're starting in field training that next Monday. So it's a very seamless transition, and it's something that we really pride ourselves in being able to do as an agency and to get people in from the start. So definitely contact our recruiters, check out our website, the OCSO.com page, where you can look and see what all those requirements are. Your security experience is a wonderful starting spot. And we did have some restrictions during COVID, as many places do, or did, but we don't have any more restrictions when it comes to ride-alongs. So wherever you live, we do have programs where you can pick the sector, the general time of the day that you would like to ride, and we can pair you up with the deputy. You fill out an application, you put that application in, and we'll get you set up so that you can ride and actually see firsthand what a deputy does on a daily basis. And it's a really great opportunity if you've ever had any question. Usually the ride-along seals the deal for the ones that, have an interest. Usually like, yes, I'm doing it. I want to work in this sector, and you're 100% in for it. So, and we can definitely talk to you more offline to see if you have any other questions about it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And we have a recruiter that's back here waiting to talk to you. Next question.
What do you expect, or should you expect in the academy, and should do prior to going?
So, expect to get in shape because it's going to happen. It's inevitable. You're going to get in shape. And if you don't think you are, you will be. I say start now. It doesn't hurt. Get your body ready because you don't want to go out there that first day and you run that 3 miles for the first time in like 2 months and you're hurting tomorrow or the next day and you're not as healthy or as ready to do it because your body is all locked up. So that's why I always recommend that people start early because you want your body just prepared, ready. You don't have to go full force, but just do something, anything. Push-ups, sit-ups, whatever's on that sheet, that paper, you're gonna do it. They're very transparent here. You're gonna do everything in that order, the way they want you to do it, and you're gonna do it right. And they're gonna make sure you do it right because they hold us to that standard, and it's worth it at the end of the day. And you're gonna feel great, and you're gonna love it. I can guarantee that. So when I went to the academy, it was Monday through Thursday. So I remember 9 a.m. till about 5 a.m. And when my schedule was in the mornings, we did all the bookwork, all of our blocks and requirements on paper. And then the last 2 hours of the day, it was all physical. You worked out for 2 hours every single day. So your body it's gonna get in shape. And then you have your Friday, Saturday, Sunday off to rest. And then you start it all over again. And you're gonna do that for 3 months straight. 3 months straight, just working out and studying our laws, our FDLE requirements and all that type of stuff, which if you're good at schoolwork and you're good at reading, writing, and memorizing stuff, you're gonna be fine on that aspect. But there's two different stresses. So it's that part and then it's the physical part. So once you get used to the physical part, it's just like, all right, it's just time to work out. But every week it's gonna be a different block that you're gonna be learning how to do things on. So the schedule is pretty cut and dry and they're very organized. So you'll be okay. Anybody who's interested in going to the academy, you are going to be fine. I got through 2. 2. That wasn't my plan, but I had to do what I had to do to make it here. But if I could do 2, you guys can do 1.
So just to kind of reiterate, they can be about 10 to 10 and a half hours a day, Monday through Thursday, when it comes to the time frame for the academies. But again, the recruiters will make sure that they elaborate on all of your questions if we don't if we do miss something, and if there's something that we can't elaborate too much on, we'll make sure that they get answered. You have a question?
My name is Daniela, and I just passed my PAT, so I'm pretty happy about that. My question is, have you ever been scared on the job? If yes, how you managed it?
So before fear, there's adrenaline for me. But my threshold is a little bit different than the average person because I worked in the prison and the jail first. So when I got here, I wasn't as timid as a new person who's just now experiencing this incident for the first time would be. But I was taught that if you don't have a little bit of fear, then you're being unsafe. Because you have to, when you assess situations and when you get around any type of person, you don't know these people, we're meeting strangers all day. So I'll give you an example. My first thought of fear, when I'm approaching a household or anything like that, and I have to knock on the door. I don't know what's behind that door. But once that door opens and I can see inside, that my fear goes down a little bit, or my adrenaline kind of drops a little bit, because I can see And then I ask the questions, how many people are inside? Can they step out? Who am I talking to? Stuff like that. So you're going to learn how to manage that in training and FTO and through your scenarios and stuff like that. So I would say adrenaline. And the more you do it, the more you'll be able to manage it. So if for instance, I go to this particular house in my area, and you're gonna, once you guys get on and you get hired on and you start doing the job, you're gonna notice that you're gonna have your regulars, your frequent flyers, people who are called all the time. So the first time I went to this household, every time this woman calls our comm center, she is freaking out. Every single time. She freaks out, saying someone's breaking in her house. She freak out. So my first time answering that call, I'm going code, which is lights and sirens, to get to her house. I'm trying to get there to see what's going on, to see if I can help her, whatever. I get there, it's her and her son. She doesn't want to let him in because, she doesn't want to do his laundry today. So he's the burglar at this point. So I get burglary from our comm center, but it's mom and son having a disagreement. Cool. Settled that. The next day, I get the same call. So now my adrenaline is like, okay, I'm familiar with this house. Mom doesn't want to do his laundry again. He's upset. They're arguing again. So, but it still comes out the same because what they're getting, they got to give me what they're getting. So it's going to come out the same every single time. But now that I'm familiar with this family and I have built this rapport, my adrenaline isn't as heightened. I still got to get there because I never know what's going to happen. But I'm more prepared. So I'm not as afraid. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. I see you have a lot of questions. Ready?
Well, I'm much here for support for her. I'm more into the nursing. At first it was detective and then forensics. So I do have a lot of questions. One of the questions is, did you ever find yourself having to compete with the males to get a position, having to prove a point that you belong?
In some ways, yes, you are competing for positions. But I think that you have to just be who you are. You can't think about, it's my time, it's my turn. No, you're going to you go, you do your best. You're excellent at whatever it is that you are doing. And you make yourself the best option for a promotion. You make yourself the best option for a position in a specialty team. If you know your craft, you put your best self forward, and you have a good reputation, those are the things that speak for themselves in the long run. So I think there is in our promotional test, for instance, you're put on a scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Somebody might have gotten a higher score than you, but you might have had more experience than them. You never know what they're looking for in a certain promotion, and really it's up to the sheriff to make those decisions. And so he might have somebody in mind for something that maybe you're not cut out for it, maybe it's not your day, but your golden day's waiting for you at the next end. So yes, there's a competition, but if you have to just stay fixated on being a good team member and being the best version of yourself.
Great. My other question is, has there been a call where you just had to step back? It took a huge toll on you, and how did you manage to do that?
I guess since I'm the road deputy, I can answer that.
Yeah, in crime scene, we had a lot of those calls. I mean, we didn't go to a crime scene unless there was something terrible and awful there to see and deal with. So, but you have to kind of focus on the job, on what you're doing, and you have your sampling plan, have your order of operations, everything that you plan to do while you're there, and try to put out the negativity and the emotional part of it. I know it sounds crass, but if you think about a doctor, not that I'm comparing myself to a doctor, but if a doctor had to think about this person they were performing surgery on all the time, if they knew them, these things that would go through their mind, it would affect how they did their job. So for us, going to these scenes where, you had people who were killed or, just died naturally and were there to take in the crime scene. We're there to photograph it and document everything and look for the evidence. And in some cases, you know, family members were there. And in cases of like people who overdosed on, you know, narcotics or something like that, you'd have family members in another room crying, and you know, it's just very sad. And I'm a very emotional person to begin with. I've always been that way. But for some reason, I was able on crime scenes to just put that out of my head, out of my mind, and just focus on what I had to do at the time. There were a couple times I might have gotten to my crime scene van and, you know, teared a little bit on my way back to the office. But I mean, we're human beings, you know, for God's sake. That's, you know, you would be, if we were all robots, then, you know, nothing good would happen in the world. So, I mean, I think a lot of it is, you know, you can step away for a second, or you have somebody there that can step in for you and take a deep breath and just keep on trucking.
Thank you.
So as we are wrapping up on this great panel discussion, we want to give our panelists an opportunity to share some final words to those that have joined us. And even if the message gets out to someone later that couldn't listen or they couldn't be here or watch online, do you have any parting words that you would just kind of want to leave behind? Everyone, if possible.
All right. What I wanted to say is if I knew what this job was when I was younger, because I know I look younger than you guys probably think I am, but if I knew about this job when I was like early 20s, I would have jumped on it in a heartbeat. Like, so I could say that I'm a teenager or, you know, have my years in and stuff like that because it's fun. But I would have started a long time ago and, you know, built on my career and gotten to know these wonderful people back then, you know. And I commend anybody who would want to do it, and I support anybody who's interested in doing it, and I encourage you guys to do it because it's great. And if you don't like it, it's no big deal to us. You know, there are other things you can do. If you don't like the law enforcement side, we have the civilian side. You know, there are a lot of people make that decision as well. There have been people who finished the academy and said, law enforcement isn't for me, and went somewhere else. We also have the courthouse. A lot of people like it there. It's the schools. A lot of people like the schools. There are different things you can do. There's so many different avenues you can go here, and I want to explore. So, and I'm nosy, so I like, you know, getting into people's business because they call me when they got drama, and I want to know what the drama is. So that's one of my favorite parts of the job.
It's a great answer. I think one of the key things that I had just turned 22, fresh out of college. And so I think early on that you feel like, okay, you kind of want to slide in under the radar. You don't want to cause any waves. You don't want to make a big stir about anything. And to some extent, that's true. You want to just get in and learn and have a fresh face. But you also need to be yourself and bring what makes you unique. Don't come here and try to be one of the guys. You're not. Clear that out. You're not one of the guys. Be a strong woman and be that unapologetically, and bring your ideas, bring your best foot forward, and bring those things to the table. And the things that are your interest, or if you have an idea that could make it better, voice those opinions, because that's what we're looking for. You know, be willing. You know, once you get in somewhere, be willing to challenge that status quo to some level, because we might be doing something that's completely different than how it should be. You might have a way to fix that, and we need to know about that. And that's something that I encourage our young people. You know, don't hold on to a good idea and just complain that, man, we should really do this, but nobody wants to listen to me. No, tell us. We want to hear those things. So we need women and, you know, people with unique backgrounds and different ideas and different interests to bring those things to the table and to continue growing this agency as we move forward.
Thanks, Ashley. So this profession is a selfless service. So if you want to give back to the community, you have to like people to be in this profession. We are a small demographic of the community. Law enforcement is a noble profession, but we need more people like you, women like you, to join us in making our community great. So I say, if you have a passion to get involved, please do so. Join us in any capacity. We're here for you.
I'd just like to finish off by saying that we as women and people in general are we are the ones who are the most, give ourselves the most criticism. Like, we are our own biggest obstacle. As a child, I didn't have a huge self-esteem. I was always, shy and timid. And this is where I belong, because I've had to, come to that realization of who I am and not be afraid of that, and not be afraid to stand before people and talk and perform my duties and testify in court. I mean, I've testified probably 300 times, and I get nervous every single time I do it, but I get up there and I do it, and I talk and I speak the truth and I speak my truth. And, that's the biggest obstacle, is just you think everybody's looking at you, you think everybody's criticizing you, and the truth of the matter is you are your own worst critic, that you only have to prove yourself to yourself. And when it comes to selling yourself, for any job, hopefully it's with us, but anywhere you go, you have to be able to sell yourself. And that is, I think, one of the hardest things I've ever had to do in my 20 years, is go before a panel interview and sell myself and say, I deserve this promotion. And these are the reasons why. Because, you're afraid, you're timid, you're shy. No, darn it, I'm not. This is why I'm the best choice, and pick me. So be confident, be confident. You go, girl.
I'll just add that if you're interested or think this is something for you, apply. It doesn't hurt to apply. See how far you get, and you may get that job. And if you're not sure which avenue you want to take, or you think you're too young, you can take a civilian position at the age of 18 and then work your way through the agency. We have a lot of openings, and there's always movement. You may start off as a civilian, and then you can go to be a sworn person. So you're not stuck in, I started as a civilian and I'm going to have to stay there. Take one of our civilian positions, get in the agency, learn the agency, network with other people within the agency, and then you can go to whichever is your actual passion. So don't hold back. If you think it's something for you, put yourself out there, fill in that application. We also have recruiters. If you need more information, reach out to our recruiters. They'll give you all the information you need about benefits and all of that. And we also have a recruiting event on March 31st at the Central Florida Fairgrounds, and all of the departments are going to be there, so you can reach out and communicate with somebody in whichever department that might interest you.
Well, being the last one, they've pretty much said a lot of the things that I wanted to say. But I will say, go back to, don't self-select yourself out. And I started my law enforcement career with a smaller agency, and it was 23 years ago. So there, at that time, especially in a smaller agency, there weren't a lot of female mentors and people in leadership positions to, like I said, act as a mentor. And Orange County, I have to say, Orange County Sheriff's Office has always had the reputation of hiring nothing but the best of the best, and they are hard to get into, and if you go through the background, you'll know that it's quite extensive, and we do. We hire the best of the best. So when you get hired, it's like a really proud moment. And I have to say, when they're very serious about making sure that you have everything you need to develop your career, and they're very serious about supporting women. So don't be intimidated. Don't self-select yourself out. It is a great, great agency to work for. I absolutely love it.
So thank you. So one last very important note that recruiter supervisor Serrano pretty much took my entire line that I was supposed to say, but great job. So March 31st, from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., there will be a recruiting event at the Central Florida Fairgrounds. You are all invited to come out, spread the word, tell anyone that they can also come out and have like one-on-one time where they can actually talk directly with the recruiters, get as much information as possible. If you missed out on something today and you want to go there and meet with them a little bit more in person, you can definitely do that. You can also continue to follow our page. If you haven't, start doing so now, the Orange County Sheriff's Office page for both Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You will get a lot of the updates on what's going on. You'll even see some of the fun projects that are taking place within the agency. There's just so much to offer from civilian, sworn. There's so much experience up here. I myself have learned a lot from it. I will just echo all of these women and say, don't self-select yourself out. Don't self-sabotage. If you are going to put the uniform on, make the badge, don't let the badge make you. And what that means is you, as you are coming in with whatever position that you're getting into, and you're bringing in what you have to offer. Let that speak for itself. Let that be a gift to the community and the people that you work with. So we definitely appreciate all of you, everything that you have shared with us, all of your questions. We appreciate our panelists, if we can give them a hand. Again, continue to follow. This is not going to be the last one. We are going to have more. We'll continue to do this, continue to share the information, and hopefully you will call the Orange County Sheriff's Office your home. Thank you.